I'm here with my dad today, and he is going to tell us about all the little gifts that he brought home from his visit in Africa to go meet his friend Joseph that he met on Facebook.
Well, people would recognize, that I had a voice that was not from Alabama, or Texas or some of those places around the country, and they would always ask, "Where are you from?" And I'd say Boston. So, from that point on, they'd always call you Boston. They were experiencing terrible drought, especially their well broke because it was so overtaxed by all the villages and the demands for water for each daily use. So my family was anxious about the fact that I was sending money over to Africa to people I'd never seen or heard of, and so that was what precipitated me deciding to go over there. I just realized that I believed these people were genuine and had real need, and maybe I could do more if I went there as an ambassador for Christ and bring back the message of what they might need so we can alleviate some of their distress as brothers and sisters in Christ, which is what the Bible commands and encourages us to do and love one another. I'm growing in that direction, and I'm experiencing an abundance amount of joy in my life, and I was asking God, why am I had so much joy, Lord? Right now, my circumstances are so bizarre. And the Bible verse came to me, those who seek the Lord will rejoice. And it's been that time in my life where I've been asking God, where do you want me to go? What do you want me to do? And I'd always wanted to be a missionary, so this was one of the things that I wanted to explore. Willing to give myself in that kind of way to go where I've never been before and to speak the name of Jesus like light in darkness. But when I got there, I found these wonderful people. 90% of the Maasai in Africa, they're one of the strongest, highly recognizable tribes within the African community, known as predominantly Christian, almost 90% of them. So my ministry there turned very quickly from preaching this message of salvation to relieving and alleviating and praying for my brothers and sisters who are suffering so much. And that was a joy too. So there's joy in whatever you do for the Lord. It says, whatever your hands find to do it with all your heart and as unto the Lord. And he blesses us with gifts. So some of these things were just things that were given to me. I got a whole box full of things by way of thank you. The most valuable to me of which is this beautiful handmade wristband that has my name, that was done by my host, Joseph Parsai. His mom, he has 9 other siblings. There's 10 brothers and sisters between 2 wives of Joseph's father. Beautiful, little scarf or wrap or wall hanging, whatever it might be. It's just a piece of fabric, but it has all the animals from within the Amboseli, the giraffes, the zebras. It actually has tigers here. They don't have tigers, so that's actually an odd, out of place thing. They have lions and wildebeests and ostrich and even camels. We ran into a whole herd of camels. They weren't wild there, but they were being herded for their use in the desert.
And laughing hyenas.
The whole landscape for 50, 60, 70 miles perimeter or more. It's got to be even more. I don't think from where we were, it was still maybe 100 miles to the tip of the mountain. But the whole top of Mount Kilimanjaro blew off and it created a lava field of stones, this big and this big, just variety of lava stones littered across the entire Amboseli Desert. And so there's little tiny paths that go through for wildlife and motorcycles, which is what we traveled on. I got the opportunity to use the fastest motorcycle.
They look like a stone river or something because it was lava.
They're separated. They're like, they might be this. Sometimes there's 3 or 4 of them together, aggregate, but they're separated. It was like an explosion. The whole top of the mountain blew off. So you can see it was scattered across the whole desert floor. And that's what these are. So this is a perfect segue. These are lava bowls, and they're all hand painted. And on the backside, they're very nicely polished, but you can see, well, the color of them. These are lava stones, highly polished, and they're highly prized. These are beautiful. I love this blue color one here, and the reds too. So these are very nice.
Wow, they're very smooth.
Yeah, and all hand painted. That's a Maasai warrior.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah. And this is beautiful. They use crushed shells like they do. They probably get them from up.
What do they use for the coloring?
That's what it is. They use they make dyes with crushed shells and things of that sort. They might, I don't know where they get it, but I know that's one of the traditional methods. These are the acacia trees, so they're very popular in the landscape, and you'll see some of the trees are draped with these big, huge bird nests. They hang down like drops of honey. They just looks like something ready to drop, teardrop-shaped nests hanging from the acacia trees. I got a video of this huge bird, like it was a crane or something, that flew up to one of the nests. I can't remember. Oh, I don't know. Maybe just acrylic. I'm not sure. Oh no, bone. Oh, these are very thin. They feel like acrylic, especially this one's translucent. Mm-hmm. It's got tiger paws or tiger print, but this is actually really finely hewn down. The base of the steer. It's steer horn.
It looks like a bra pad cup. That's how thin it is.
Yeah.
So is this just decorative, or do they use them?
It's a sauce bowl.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're little sauce bowls.
That's cute.
Oh, here's the other one of the pair. So I had brought
nice.
back 2 of these.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. A male and a female? That's cool.
Both olive wood. I wish it fit me because they handmade this for me. This was a very special gift. So ever since I've been back last year, I've been trying to lose weight, and
Incentive.
I wish I could wear it.
It's beautiful, and
It
that's all
takes
beading.
hours and hours. Little tiny, intricate beads. If you could see, it's embarrassing to post the video of this lady. These are made by ladies, but this one
the
lady.
little American flag.
Yeah, they did it for me, and then here's the Kenya flag. See, it's a marriage of the 2.
Oh wow! So they made this just for you.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
As
beautiful.
ambassadors, this is a diplomatic token, right? These are the clubs for the herdsmen, because that's what they are. They're herdsmen, and these are made of olive wood. And I have a video of the men, the elders, sitting around, and it takes hours and hours and hours and hours of just hand polishing this, just to the finest, to make these little sticks. They walk around and keep the cattle in control, and if they have any problems with critters and so on, they have something quick to in there. They keep in their tunic down here on the side to keep the situation under control. This is steer horn salt and pepper shaker.
Wow, what's a steer
Hand carved
horn?
inside out. I've got the other one in here probably somewhere. But then these are olive wood.
How do you get it in? Up in the little hole on
Is
the
there?
side?
Is there something?
There's a little hole on the side.
Oh yeah, so you use a funnel,
Mm-hmm.
and then we put a piece of cork in there.
Wow, they really sent you home with so much. You traded, because what did you leave behind?
Oh, look at oh boy.
What did you leave them with that you had taken with you, Dad?
My laptop, my power bank.
So that was a good trade in their mind.
my really nice binoculars. I gave the binoculars to the chief. He loves the binoculars.
That's awesome.
And then, see, you stand it up and you put this one holds
So this is a Maasai warrior?
Yeah. Okay, so that goes like that.
So these are like their version of Barbies?
These, well, yeah,
Kinda.
it's decorative. They're tourist things. People take home to remember what they look like.
That's
But this
so
was,
cool.
They've been doing these before there were photographs, right?
So awesome.
And I've got all kinds of jewelry. You know, carved bone. This one with the cow.
They give you all kinds of awesome little things, huh?
This is the old man. See,
Oh, wow. Yeah, he's sitting.
he's got a piece of the cow hide.
Uh-huh. Wow.
And this is their Maasai traditional
Yeah.
plaid, because they probably all were Scotch at one point.
All your little theories are hilarious.
But you see the thing on his head here?
Mm-hmm.
It's to keep the flies off, because the flies are so bad because they work around the horses. I mean the cattle. So there's always infestations of cows, especially. I mean flies, especially when the cows are lactating. It draws them and they infest. So they keep these on. Otherwise, the flies get all over their head. So when I went there, I had a whole bunch of these branded head things, and they were from Oreo cookie, which is kind of ironic because you know.
Oh yeah,
they make
the
jokes about-
bandanas.
Here I was, the white guy in the middle of this
You know.
black community, and I'm giving them all these branded Oreo cookie.
Bright
heads.
blue.
Yeah, and they were bright blue, and they were contrasted the red, but they loved them. And so there was like 30 Maasai warriors all standing there with their Oreo cookies. Head on. I got the pictures.
Oh my gosh, you have to say.
Hand carved olive wood, ebony.
I bet you customs loved going through your bags, huh?
No, they didn't. This is permissible. People do this all the time.
Oh, I know. Just that's cool.
See,
All
look
the
at this
little
one.
things.
They didn't go through it. They didn't bother with it. That's what I'm saying. That one, yeah, something have to do something with it. Put it on its own stand.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It will stand. Oh.
It's just the way that his legs are.
Oh yeah, it's not broken.
No.
It's not quite right. We got to put something under this leg. There we go.
Yeah, he needs a hose.
A prosthetic. And look at these beautiful. The girls didn't want any of them now. Put them in. That's all right. I'll keep them there. Give them to my great granddaughters. This is when your great grandpa went.
Those are very beautiful.
And that again, the bone polished down to a fine bone.
Wow.
And this one.
It's nice. Does it actually? Wow, that's awesome.
I showed you guys all this stuff That's the meat.
That's so cool.
Yeah. Now coming back a year later and touching it all, I'm like, I'm not selling this stuff. I'm not even giving it to my kids.
These things are so cool.
This is mine.
They're awesome. It's beautiful.
I know, there's another
It's the whole family. That's
All
so
the little idols. They're not idols.
It's so cool, though. This is really, I love them.
Oh, and there's my elephant.
I could definitely just designate a little part of the house to display these things.
Oh, another lovable
A little
zebra. This one, the color, it wasn't painted or something. It's just.
Oh yeah, a little print of a zebra.
Yeah. I gotta find the other earring.
Wow, that's beautiful. I love those colors. It's like, it reminds me of like a tropical bird.
Yeah.
Very beautiful.
Oh, there's my lion.
Look at them. They gave you all these little toys. I love it. Uh-oh, careful.
That's the boy in me. I'm gonna break it.
Christina, here is your reminder.
Reminder. Take the garbage bins to the sidewalk.
Alexa,
Every
stop blowing me up.
Do you want me to cancel all instances of this reminder?
No.
Oh, just look at this is a bottle opener.
Oh, wow. Could have used that last night when you were trying to open that wine.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Look at that.
You're supposed to know I'm drinking.
Alexa ratted me out, and then you got ratted out. That's so cool.
Oh, another rhino. Oh, I got 2 rhinos, a left and a righty.
We're running out of room.
Oh, Joel would love this stuff. How come Joel?
I love it.
Oh, Joel didn't have any place to keep it. Oh, Joel, get him on a video. Oh, we gotta go. This little stinker. I'm still trying to get him to stand up. I'm stupid. I got him to stand up.
He's leaning on the spoon.
We got more. We'll do more. Well, look at that hand-carved fork with an elephant.
Wow. It's so cool.
Yeah, look. Yeah.
It's a spork.
Yeah. And then there's my hematite necklace.
And these all came from Amboseli, Africa.
Yeah, and they get the hematite from Tanzania,
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Kilimanjaro.
Hematite, what's that? Like a stone?
Yeah, it's a magnetic stone.
Wow, that's cool.
That's olive wood, carved wood. Look at the elephant.
Oh no, that's the giraffe.
That's so cool.
Yeah, you get the elephant.
This is for my spaghetti.
But you didn't see this. Well, we already lost the light. Too bad, huh? Because this is very intricately
You
made.
can see it.
This is hours and hours and hours of hand beating, very tiny beads. Like I said, I have a video showing one of the older ladies. You know, they're all doing it, threading and beading a necklace, and the flies were swarming on her head. So unbelievable. There was as many flies on her head as there are beads here. It was just swarming. And yet she was threading that without even moving. Like they didn't even
her.
exist. Yeah, it didn't phase her a bit. Ugh, it made me shudder just trying to videotape it.
Yeah.
But that's how it came to us, you know, with love and attention and detail and skill.
Lots of dedication.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we're still taking things out from the collection of crafts that I brought back from Africa, and we still have some of these nice fabrics that are used for women to adorn themselves or cool themselves, or, you know, in our case, it would make a nice wall hanging. It's beautiful. So it's one of my favorites.
Very pretty.
My granddaughter. This is reminiscent of the colors of the Maasai mix and match lava bowl. This has the rhino and the. Look at, oh, I guess it's a pair of rhinos. Yeah, a pair of rhinos with an acacia tree. And oh, on this side, it's got a natural leopard print from the lava.
That's cool.
And continue to pull out various beaded bracelets that were just given. And more utensils, just some basic.
Wow, they gave you so many things.
Well, actually, Tina, what happened was, if this is actually a business, I bought their entire inventory
Oh.
for significantly less than its value. So that's why it's kind of a gift. It was a mutually beneficial arrangement. So that when I was going to have Mom market these through her thing, but she didn't know how she was going to do it because it was in business.
So all these items are for sale?
Yeah, this is a business. They're all on Craigslist. I mean, they're all on eBay. But I'm going to take them off now that I've had them for a year. I'm looking at them and I see I didn't really get
Special
much.
they are.
Yeah, much
They're
activity
so intricate. Look
on
at
the
these.
on eBay because there's a lot of people that have them. But they buy them, you know, from people. Oh no, here we go. This goes this. Yeah, this is another one of those ones with quite a collection. I really need to assess all this a little bit better.
So these are all from Amboseli tribe in
Well, the
Africa.
Maasai tribe.
This is from the Maasai tribe in Amboseli, Africa.
Okay, and now
Yep.
these are some of the ladies' items.
Okay.
I had
So
this one
these
on
are
for
all
quite
the
a while. This one
beaded
was on me.
bracelets.
I had both of them on, so
How do you get it off?
I was able to slide this one off, but
Mm-hmm.
it's pretty intricate. So look at how they zip it together. It's not, that's amazing.
All beaded. Wow. This is like a little. Oh, this is a bracelet too.
Melissa. Oh, this is Melissa. This is for a girl in that gave him money. She from Texas.
Oh,
I
nice.
don't know how he thought I was going to be able to deliver it to her.
Or maybe mail it to her.
Yeah. This line is all made of beads
Wow.
on wire.
That's so cool. So we got keychains and bottle openers.
Yeah. This is the Maasai sword right here. The Maasai lion killer. Which is
You
right
gotta
here.
hold it at a better angle.
And here's the lion killer.
Mm-hmm.
The chiefs, the young chief, the prince. He's like the prince, but he's like the chief. He's not chief yet, but he will be chief.
Mm-hmm.
They're all required to kill an animal as a rite of passage.
Mm-hmm.
And the night that I left, they roasted a goat to say goodbye. We had a celebration with the men. And afterwards, the grandfather of the village, he was like 94, he adopted me as a son. Joseph's grandmother, who's 96, she adopted me as his grandson. And then the chief's second chief, the young guy, he's probably about 33, something like that. He gave me his lion killer. And it's just a handmade, sword, machete, blade, made out of, the local leather from their cows that they use all the products to make. And he actually killed a lion with this. You feel it's pretty rugged. It's not, I didn't clean it, do anything to it. It just came out of
Out of the lion.
the wilderness. It's probably got, some blood residue inside the sheets.
Wow.
Yeah. And they carry it, see there's a little sleeve in there, they carry it here.
Mm-hmm.
And the club. So this is their two primary daily, things that they carry with them as nomadic herdsmen. And that's all they need. It's pretty easy.
So different in different parts of the world.
Yeah. This is made of cow horn. These are all made of cow horn.
Can I see one?
That's a pretty one.
Is this supposed to be like a shoehorn?
Yeah, it's a shoe horn.
That's so cute.
Keychain. It's just a keychain too. You can use it, hang it on your backpack or something.
Thank you, Michael.
That sounds like the kids at the school. Remember that?
Tell us the story about the children and their feet at the school when you were looking at them getting their feet tapped.
Yeah, well, it was the morning. Every morning they all have assembly before they start class, and they're required to wear uniforms to school. So they all have a standard, even though the government doesn't pay for the uniforms. So it's a hardship, and some of the kids can't afford uniforms. So that when I was there many times early in the morning, when the other kids were at school, there were other children. I'd ask them, "How come you're not in school?" As if they had done something wrong. And they just said, "Well, we don't have uniforms, and we don't have shoes, or we don't have whatever it is that's required in order for them to be eligible to go to school." So I felt terrible, really, that there were so many kids that didn't have anything that would, make them presentable. So that particular day, they were all lined up and they were being checked to make sure they were ready to go to school. And I noticed the teacher was going around, and every half a dozen or so students, he would tap one on the feet. And I didn't know if it was a disciplinary thing, or I couldn't figure it out. So afterwards, I asked him, I says, why were you tapping some of the children on the feet? And he said, well, those are the ones that their shoes are so worn out that they're not above the standard to allow them to come to school. So they're getting a warning. And I said, well, how many children need shoes? And he said, well, it's really awkward because you can't buy just a few pairs for those ones, because there's lots of kids that don't come to school because they don't have any shoes at all. And I said, well, how many children are there all together? He says, if you have to buy, for one, you should have to buy them for all. And that's how many there are. And he said, there was 70 students. So I said, well, let's pray about it, and then we'll let others know and see if God will provide. So I put it out as a prayer request, and the folks from back, you folks and family and the people at Be Ready Street Ministries, who were supportive of it, so much of everything.
And my coworkers at Serenity Mental Health.
Yeah, and co-workers. Well, that's who I was referring to, family, and thinking of them as family. Yeah, Serenity Health. They allowed me to be able to do that for them. So,
So you bought 70 pairs of shoes for kids.
Yeah, so we bought 70 pairs of shoes. And a soccer ball. The soccer ball was $30, and I kept trying to tell them. I think I finally ended up with one for $20. But I wanted them to have something, to enjoy too, not just.
Because you had bought a ton of toys that you couldn't end up bringing with you there, right?
Yeah, there was a confusion about the shipping weight because I had booked it, and anyway, without going into all the detail of why I had to leave one of my bags, which was about 50 pounds worth of sneakers and toys and food and other essentials, like even medical equipment, like toenail clippers and things that could be very useful in areas where they don't have access to medical. And they just didn't allow me to have it. And I argued with them because I was already arranged so there would be accepted. So when I got there, it wasn't as much. It wasn't in my mind as much as I wanted to lavish on them all of this stuff. And there was still quite a bit, but I kept looking through the bag because I was thinking, okay, I remember throwing that tambourine in there, or I remember I threw that, pair of sandals in there or something, and I couldn't find them. I was, it was probably in the other bag, something that I really would have preferred to have had with me than not. So anyway, yeah, that's how that all turned out about.
Thank you, Michael. For your gift. God bless you. God bless you. Haya, tupigie makofi. Sema 34. Najua kama ni 34. Neema. Kama ni 34. Pata na Yesu nani rafiki yake? Sababu naona manamba inatusumbua, so ile namba ndaona hapa naangalia nini. Sawa. Sababu kitambulisho hiyo namba ya mtu kwa muda. Nimesema panga live. Hivi ndio unapanga live. Na tunachukua kitu kwa live. Haki yangu utapata. So tumemaliza. Neema. Neema ipa. Tuko kwa na Yesu. Ndio. Ndio neema ipa.
So what happened when they delivered the shoes? They got them the day after you left, so you weren't able to be there to see it, right?
Yeah, I realized that was going to be the case because we were always pressing to get these tasks done because we had to arrange transportation because they lived 30 miles from pavement on very treacherous roads that went through lava fields across, the shadow of Mount Kilimanjaro. It wasn't easy to go here or there to get supplies or anything. So we were always trying to arrange things like that.
So they would take motorbikes, right?
Yeah, so this is what happened was by the time everything was arranged to get the shoes picked up and we had to wait till market day. That's what it was. And market day was the day that I was leaving. So they sent me a very nice video afterwards, and it was all the children. They had all their shoes, and they were holding them up over their head, and they were jumping up and down, and they was singing a song. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Michael. I still, whenever I'm down, I just play that, and it just changes my whole day.
And the whole village cheering you on and
Yeah,
thanking
little
you.
kids, 70 kids jumping up and down. Love you, Michael. When I first got there, I was the only white person there, so I mean, to those little kids that they'd never seen a white person before, I mean, I was a ghost.
Not even tourists?
No, there was no tourists. I lived with them in the dung huts. I was the first person ever to do that. That's why they loved me. It was like, you're gonna stay? You're not just gonna come in and ask us for a little tour and then run off, jump in your Jeep and be off again after you get a photo. That's pretty much what most people do. They'll buy some trinkets like this, what is considered trinkets, but they're very nice, they're beautiful, but that's about as much interaction they have as very minimal. They're there to take pictures of the safari.
But you have to have the talking stick because you're talking.
Yep. Oh yeah, I should be holding the talking stick. Yeah, this is the chief's, and he's the one who usually is the one who'll be holding
And
this.
this is the chief, and that's his stick, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
you go.
You guys are twins.
Yeah, don't let him get run over and trampled by the elephant and the lion. It's bigger than the elephant. Wait, yeah, actually, it's a very beautiful community. It's very respectful. Whenever any child approaches an older person, they stop and they bow their head down, and they're waiting for the older person to put their hand on the child's head. It's a sign of respect. And so that's pretty much most of the interaction that children have with adults is just that little ceremoniously bow and blessing, and which is beautiful. But when I got there, being the first time many of the little children had seen a white face, they were, visibly afraid, run away from me and screaming, and I would just turn into a joke, and I would make believe I was chasing them, and then they would get more scared, and then they would giggle, and it always happened, and I think it might have taken only 2 or 3 days of this little ritual where I finally caught one, and then I swung him around like a helicopter, and all the other kids were just standing there laughing and terrified at the same time. And then when I let the other little kid go, he was so dizzy he ran off and just fell in a pile. And the other kids laughed, and then they wanted to be swung around. So that broke the ice. And after that, I couldn't go anywhere without 10, 15 kids running behind me with their hands out. They wanted to be swung around.
That's what you used to do with all 6 of us kids growing up, and your grandkids. That was our favorite. Grandpa, spin me around. So you had a whole village of children that wanted to play with you eventually.
Yep. And I brought them frisbees and a bunch of little balls, bouncy balls, fun things. Oh, fun little recorders. And then, remember that whistle thing?
Yeah.
Slide whistle. Oh, they love that. Oh, we had so much fun. I'd walk around the village and the kids would laugh. And it's simple things. That's what life's about. That's what I imagined, if I went there, how would I want to enjoy myself? And watching children play and interacting and seeing, how they thrive in their environment.
And tell me about the watermelon.
Yeah, well, that was another thing is every day they have a little luncheon, and it's pretty meager. But they are all big, beautiful, happy, shiny faces, and they never complain. They never look like they're hungry or anything like that. So I don't want to paint the wrong picture. But you can tell that they don't get treated very often, and because they live in the desert and they rely mostly on like a chai milk. It's heated milk to kill the bacteria. And that's pretty much how they can sustain themselves with some other stuff that they are able to get with cabbages and things like that at the village. They don't grow it, but they have to buy it. But
And they sell these types of things to be able to buy their food, right?
But yeah, like I said, it's 30 miles to payment. So you have to pay a lot of money to get rent the vehicle, to go into town, be able to purchase the groceries. To be able to get the groceries back to the village, you have to have transportation. It's just not easy. You have to pay somebody. So we, somewhere along the line, I asked them if they had, I wanted to bring some fruit. And I'd asked them when was the last time they had fruit, and they said they don't really have, probably most of them have never tried any fruit. So I bought a watermelon and a bunch of mangoes, and I had the teacher cut them all up to like 80 pieces and distributed a piece of watermelon, a piece of mango to each one of them. And it was
It's like the story
just
about the fish and the bread in the Bible.
Yeah, it was multiplied because I kept feeling anxious about there's enough, there's going to be enough, but they kept reassuring me because these guys are like tribal. They share everything. They know how to make everything go to every mouth. It's amazing.
Yeah,
It really.
and they won't eat alone, right?
That's right. Yeah. That's why even here, sitting, and if I think about them, it's sad because I eat alone and I can eat as much as I want. But that's the point of it. Over there, nobody would dare do that because they know that there's somebody next door that might not have. So before dinner, while the moms are cooking, the sons go out in search of somebody who doesn't have any place to eat. And every single person brings one person back, and before they can eat, that they start this. It's like it's a prayer. They pray. It's Christian. They pray and then they eat.
That's beautiful.
It is. It's wow. But they live on the edge of civilization, and it's a survival culture, and that's really a reflection of the severity and extremity of their existence.
How did the kids react to the fruit for the first time?
Oh yeah, it's too bad. It was so long ago. I'm sorry you're asking me to retell this story now because the first time when we told it was so close to the experience. It was much more colorful and accurate, but it's kind of vague now. But it was very beautiful. That's all I can say. It was just especially knowing that and they're watching the watermelon, and they're trying not to let even a drop
Drip down their face.
But they can't help smiling, and their big, beautiful white teeth. And they're all just happy, and they're looking at me, and I'm just like, wow, that's the most rewarding feeling. That's why generosity is, the one who gives is the one who gets most.
Yeah, that's true.
It's better, more blessed to give than to receive. And that's what they mean.
I believe that.
Feeling of satisfaction that comes from it.
I agree with that 100%.
So I guess that'd be a perfect segue to talk about the fact that these people are still sitting there, and they're in my heart and in my prayers, but I really have no means personally to do anything to improve their life or even to put another piece of watermelon in the mouth of one of those children. And I didn't do it out of my own means. When we purchased that fruit, and we actually did like 3 big food distributions for the whole village. It was all from, just like we said, all the generosity of the folks back here. And that could be resumed if there was some resources made available. So if anybody feels led to contact Christina about that, that's no more said, except it's a beautiful. It'll be a beautiful, rewarding way to firsthand encounter what it's like to be a part of a ministry that does so much good for such little bit of money.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, right now, the next project, what I already did was we also repaired the pastor's motorcycle because he let me use it, and it was wonderful. And I was like, "You kidding me?" The pastor said I can use his motorcycle to go to town. So,
And it was a very bumpy ride, right?
well, yeah, the tire was ripped off. I hit we just made it back to the village. The tire was all big bubbles sticking out the side. So, in the course of fixing replacing the tire, I had to replace some sprocket and had to replace some chains, and before I was all said and done.
It was almost a whole new bike.
Yeah, but still over there, I mean, it was under $200 to repair the whole bike. But still, every little project that we undertook made such a huge difference that was rewarding too. And not only did I, get to ride the bike, but I got to see the pastor just jumping up and down because now he had a brand new bike. And then I put a concrete floor. I don't know if you knew that. I put a concrete floor in the church, the sanctuary. That was another $400. They had the trench all around the outside with excavators, and it was quite a bit of project. So they got a lot of bang for their buck for $400. They got a really a lot of work done.
And this was all from Joseph just reaching out to you on Facebook.
Yeah.
What was the first interaction that you had with him? Was he just saying hi to you?
I don't remember. It's been a long time, but when I look back at the conversations that we've had and the Bible studies we've had and the scriptural encouragement and the pictures and the videos from all the unbelievable close encounters they had with rare wild animals out in the safari and everything. There's a real relationship built up. His mom and his aunt, they love me to death, but they can't speak a word of English. All they can say is "Hello, Michael. Hello, Michael." And it's so beautiful. I want to cry just to hear them say my name because they just want to connect,
Yeah.
And
That's very sweet.
but they took the bed away, so I could sleep in the bed, and they slept on the floor. I mean, literally, this stuff, the hide, this here, this is it. This here. That's what they had. They had a big sheet about the size of this table on the ground, and that's what the two boys slept on because they let me use their bed while I was there. And when I realized that, I went in there one night and I saw them lying on this sheet of cardboard like leather, dried out. I said, "Where you guys sleeping tonight?" They said, "This is our bed." And they had such a beautiful smile. I don't know. They
They were
weren't complaining
excited
at
to
all.
have company.
Yeah, they love me. They all love me. They call me Daddy.
Aww,
Because because I was very warm
it's
and
expression of love.
I love every one of them. I want Patrick that comes to school in Boston. I told him I would sponsor him if he come here. We try to get him scholarship and housing, whatever it is,
Yeah.
opportunities. One of his younger brothers is terrible. He had polio. He was born with polio, so he can't move his arm at all. So I had brought a sling with me. And he was one of the ones that lives way, way, way up with his 96-year-old grandmother that adopted me, way up in the village on the edge of Tanzania. And they brought him down one day to meet me, and I gave him the sling, and he put it on, and his arm was so more relaxed and comfortable, and he had a big smile. And I was like,
awesome.
"Wow, God, the simplest little things that I
No,
drug
you
out of the
literally
bottom
get
of
at
a
the
drawer."
Dollar Tree. I
Yeah,
know.
and then brought with me, changed his life. You know. So that's the kind of stuff that you don't know until you get there. How simple little things can be so appreciated.
Yeah. It's crazy. So you flew out from Boston to get to Africa, right? How long of a flight was it?
Boy, it was like 20 hours.
Wow. Where did you stop over? Did you have
Just
any
in
stops?
Kuwait.
Kuwait.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So what was it like when you landed?
Oh, no, it wasn't Kuwait. It was Qatar. Yeah, because it was Qatar Airways. That's right. Yeah, Qatar. So that was cool because, what I did was I watched it on a satellite. You could watch it on the satellite. They have a screen so you can see
Where
you are. Yeah. And it showed when you get landing from, the United States into Europe, and then from how you're flying right over the Mediterranean Sea, and then going into Saudi Arabia and over into Qatar. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
You're above it, but you kind of feel like I'm here in an odd, unrealistic kind of sense. But anyway, when we finally got there, it was 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And the plan was that Joseph lived 5 hours from the airport, which is in Nairobi.
And he's the friend that you met on Facebook.
Yeah, and he's extremely poor. So, I still didn't fathom what that meant when he said, he wouldn't have any trouble getting to the airport from his little village. But when I got to the airport, he wasn't there.
And that was at 2 a.m.
at 2 o'clock in the morning.
I remember you messaged us telling us you had arrived.
Yeah. So when I got off the plane, taxi drivers were the first ones that, tried to
Interact with you.
Yeah, they wanted to see if I needed a ride to a hotel or any help or anything like that. And I just said, no, I'm gonna wait for my friend. But they kept seeing me wandering around, looking all around the airport. Where's this guy? Maybe I'm in the wrong place. And pretty big airport, so they kept approaching me. You sure you're all right? We take you to a hotel. We can get you a cheap. We know how to help you. Blah blah blah. And no. And then after about a couple of hours, realized that my friend wasn't going to show up, and he wasn't answering his phone. So by that time, I was kind of hanging around with the taxi stand. There was probably 20 or 30 guys there, all just waiting for the plane to come in so they could mob the passengers and get some business. And the guys were still kind of needling me, and it was like, well, what are you going to do if he doesn't show up? And I just said, well, guys, let me just tell you, I came here to preach the gospel. And I don't care if it's out in a remote village in Amboseli or if it's right here at Nairobi Airport. But we're going to talk about Jesus tonight. And all of a sudden, they were all like, well, I'm a Christian. Well, I'm a Christian. Well, I'm a pastor. Well, I'm a deacon. Next thing, they're all bragging in a beautiful way that they're all Christians. And there wasn't anything that I could tell them they didn't already know, and they wanted to fellowship, and it just turned into a big family hoedown
In the middle of the night.
In the middle of the night, yeah. And they all wanted my address, my phone number, my contact information, so they could all have me come preach at their churches, and just like Joseph. I mean, it isn't a single person if I would talk to over there that wouldn't take me right into their home and hope to God that we could have a lifelong relationship that's beneficial, with the rich American friends. But little do they know, I'm homeless and use my Social Security check to get there.
Tell me about when you finally did find Joseph. What happened? Did you hear from him on the phone first, or?
Let's see. Boy, it's pretty. It was probably around 6 a.m. Yeah, that he finally woke up. That's what happened. Was
he fell asleep?
Well, no, he arrived. He was in Nairobi, where his friend lived. He got a ride to there, and then he stayed there, and he wasn't planning on falling asleep. So I was happy to hear that was a simple, honest mistake. And so as soon as he got my message, he called me, apologized, and figured out where I was, and they came and got me. So
what was it like when they came and got you? What was the vehicle like?
it wasn't anything, bad or too bad.
Yeah, did you tell me that you were all kind of mushed together? There was a whole bunch of you on the ride there?
Oh, that always happens. Yeah, that's a whole different. I mean, if there's a vehicle going somewhere, there's always more people that need to get to where it's going than can fit in the vehicle.
So, what was the ride like?
Well, the sad part was that they gave me like I was a king or something. They put me right in the front seat, and then they had two very old ladies and two very old men all squished together back there, and I felt terrible. I felt like you guys can all have the front seat and I'll sit in the back. And I was like, no, that's not going to make anything better for them. Mm-hmm. But it was just I couldn't do anything for them. Mm-hmm. I guess, in my mind, they must have been terribly uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. But in their mind, that's probably how that's how it is every day where they go. Yeah, it wasn't my fault that I was a little bit more comfortable than them.
Mm-hmm. So when you were in the village, what is it like? They have like a big fence around it, right, to protect them from the wild?
Yeah, there's about 8 villages of about 400 people each. Mm-hmm. And each village has its own, let's see, I think Chief Jackson was the head of all of, he was the head of all 8 villages, yeah.
And this is in,
so Chief Jackson,
this was Kenya? Yeah,
in Kenya. Chief Jackson lived right next to Joseph, so Joseph became a favored son because he was like a self-appointed Maasai ambassador. That's really what his role was in reaching out to the rest of the world through Facebook. Mm-hmm. There's nothing wrong with that at all. I thought, now the more and more I think about it, I think, what a brave man. Mm-hmm. All he had in mind was the interest of his people, to find some way to get, some help from somebody, whatever it takes. And just, people go to the bank all the time looking for help. Help me start a business. Help me buy a car. Help me buy, so I don't know why in America when we think of Africans or anybody reaching out from a third world country to a first world country, trying to make contact, that there's less dignity in that.
I think that what it is that we don't know if that's who we're talking to. That if it's
Yeah,
truly
that's
someone
right,
that's
yeah.
desperately in need, or
That's
you know,
right.
in that situation, or if you're just talking to some guy in New York
He's
City
making up
that's
the
just sitting in
stories.
his room,
Yeah.
you know, trying to make people pity him and believe him. So that's the scary thing, is you don't know if you're actually helping someone or not.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, that's where, as a Christian, you make a choice to proceed, because you know what? You know what I learned was a beautiful thing about the Christmas story? When the angels announced the birth of Christ, well, first thing they said is, peace on earth, goodwill toward men. And the thing about goodwill, it's a trust. It's something that's the most valuable thing that we have between us. If I give you my goodwill, I'm giving you my trust without really knowing whether or not that trust is well placed or misplaced. And it's only on how you treat that in response am I going to be able to determine what kind of person you are.
Right.
And
Just
so-
treat others how you want to be treated.
Yeah, so you have to take a risk somewhere along the line. And that's exactly what I try to live my life, that if I take that kind of risk for the sake of peace on earth, what God's objective in the inauguration of this kingdom in the world is to establish a kingdom of peace and of love where we, live in harmony. That's the goal of all civilizations. We can't get there without God. That's why we struggle.
Doesn't the Bible say that Jesus will come back when every person that's living on the whole earth knows his name?
Has
right?
heard.
Has heard his name.
Yeah, well, that's possible right now.
And that's why we
yeah.
have missionaries traveling to, these lands that are remote with, these indigenous people that, have never heard about Jesus before, right? Because
Well, that's exactly where I was heading with this, is because this all started with a missionary presentation that was done at Calvary Bible before I went, about maybe 6 months before I went. And they were talking about the unreached people groups. And the unreached people groups are the people that live in very remote regions that have never heard the gospel before, because of language primarily and accessibility as
right,
well.
and they're also scared of the outsiders, so they will attack if they see you come.
Yeah, so there's one group that live in Tanzania called the Hadzabe. As soon as I realized that I might have a chance to go to Kenya, I began to pray that maybe that this had been also a part of what God was pointing, so that we could reach that tribe. And so after I got there, that was one of the things, was realizing that I was going to Kenya to preach the gospel, but after learning that the people that I was staying with, Joseph's villages, they were 90% Christian, and they already had a number of churches that well established, and actually had missionaries in Tanzania and churches established from those missions. And in one of those churches that's close to the Hadzabe, in the remote bush, they have at least one Hadzabe convert. And they already agreed that if I was to come back, that we would do a mission trip to Tanzania and
Trying to
along
reach
those.
that tribe.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the last time it was attempted, there's only, this is like, there might be 10 Hadzabe that are Christian out of the whole tribe. It might only be 400 or 500, but still. They were attacked, viciously. So
Wow.
it's just fear and
Danger.
protectionism.
Yeah.
So the same thing happened off the island of Sri Lanka, which is off the coast of India, just a couple of years ago. There was it's a World Heritage Site, and it's protected, and it's the people that live there have never been contacted on the outside, and they've been warned that if anybody came, they would kill them immediately. But a missionary went and knew that, went there a couple of years ago, and as soon as his feet touched the shore, they killed him. So yeah, there's a lot of people who feel that that's, we should protect those peoples from outside exposure, and we shouldn't impose our, exterior existence on them. But
They're an endangered
yeah,
group.
yeah, but they do need to hear the gospel. So
Yeah.
that answers your question. Yeah.
But does anyone else in the world speak the same language as them, or do they have their own language?
No, this is what Wycliffe Bible Translators does. This is what the Bendels did. They lived for 18 years in Guatemala doing Bible translation when they first,
So how would they communicate to these
They
people?
learn. They
With
learn.
pictures, or?
It's a very long. You can't talk about this right now because
Yeah.
it's just.
I'm just curious.
It's a whole Like they were trying to teach me when I went there. I was going to go to a school in Dallas, Texas. It's a linguistic school. I would have had to learn Swahili, but the Maasai don't speak Swahili. They understand Swahili, but their real language is Ma, M-A-A.
Mm-hmm.
And when I talked with the people at the linguistic school in Dallas, they said, well, the Swahili is hard enough, but the Ma is a much more complicated language.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, geez, do I really want to spend the rest of my life just trying to learn the language so I can at least begin to say a few words to them? That's such an arduous, long, drawn out process. You really got to be dedicated. And so I feel my gifting is more toward English-speaking people because I have such an ability with the English language of communicating.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to know.
It's translated better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In one area it's a gift, in another area it's an impediment because I
yeah.
really don't have a grasp of other languages.
Yeah.
But for English, I'm a master.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it happens all the time. We got missionaries all over the world who are trying to break the barriers of language, and they bring them, very beneficial things. The whole thing is most of those cultures really readily accept the gospel, and these folks who come because what they have never had is their language in writing. They have no written language. These are oral communities.
Mm-hmm.
So when they show them what the written language is. This is what gets their interest because it's the thirst that's innate to us for knowledge and the ability to comprehend and communicate with each other. So it's universally understood that there's language keys that can help us to reach each other.
And Joseph learned English, so he's able to reach out to the world, a voice for that community.
Well, this is it. Kenya is a subjugated colonial state that has gained its independence, but through extortion and exploitation, most British colonies were. But the justification was that they were bringing civility and law and order, decency, and so on to uncivilized people, uneducated. So it's a double-edged sword because the fact of the matter is that the Kenyan people do love the English language. They do love the Bible. They want the Bible. They want, all of these things that come from European civilization because they see, the value and the richness in these things. The way in which they, have obtained them has been through oppression and struggle. So that's the unfortunate part of it. But nevertheless, it now is their right, and we're fighting for that. This is why, actually, I was trying to get a grant through the U.S. Agency of International Development in Kenya, in Nairobi, and made contact with them, but the grant had expired just after I learned about the Maasai. So now it's been a bit of an uphill battle to try to even make contact with them to renew their commitment to the Amboseli and the resources that they need there to continue to be the nomadic herdsmen that they are in that area without being forced out because of economics and lack of opportunity. So the school that we were talking about in the previous videos with the beautiful children, where we put them gave them fresh food and put sandals on their feet and so on, is also a school that's got foundational cracks throughout it. It could collapse on them, and because they live in the plain where it's dry, and then sometimes it floods. And when it floods, it undermined the foundation, and the concrete shifted, and the building's got now massive cracks throughout it. So they need a new building. They need another well. The well that they have now that I helped them fix was already at capacity. That's why it needed to be repaired because it was already overstressed. They need another well, and so that's $15,000. So if I ever had the opportunity to do anything, that would be the first thing I would do is just build a well. They've given me land. Joseph's father gave me.
I do another.
they're all one. So, you know, what I've done with them and for them, whatever, in the name of Jesus Christ, has not gone without them being completely and thoroughly, you know, grasped by that. You know, the depth of that sharing to them is not just like, oh, thanks, you know, thanks for bringing the stuff over. Hey, next time you pop by, bring something else different. It's, you know, it's like what we do with things around here. We take so much for granted. They appreciated me to such a level that they really don't ever want me to leave.
Yeah.
And not just because they see an exploitable commodity in me,
Yeah.
American tourist.
They
blah,
embrace
blah,
you
blah.
in your love.
Yeah, because they saw I was ready to die, you know, there with them. So the villages are surrounded by thick branches that probably about 10 feet high, and they're thick enough, maybe about 8 feet thick, maybe not even that thick, maybe 4 feet thick, 5 feet thick. But anyway, thick enough all the way around the whole village to keep the hyenas and the lions, the elephants out, and they're always
Even
very
elephants
close. And the
must be really
wildebeest.
thick then.
Yeah, every morning I would go out because they have gates, and the gates are made of wood and logs, and you slide them and stuff. So I learned how to get out, and I would go out in the morning and pray. The chief always wanted to go out with me at dawn, watch the sun come up, and Joseph too, and whenever they would all jump up. But sometimes I couldn't sleep very well, so I would go out even earlier, and I'd be out there. You know, when the wild animals are out there, and when Joseph they'd come running after me, they'd see me stand there like 50 feet from an elephant and saying, "Get back away!"
They were worried about you.
But I wanted a picture. Tourist.
Remember you.
I woke up early this morning and knew that from habits of the Maasai that to come out as the sun comes up is the best time to enjoy the wildlife and to get close to them as they're moving back to their areas. And I was fortunate enough to come up and encounter this wonderful elephant just meandering down from the Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania and the lowlands where they usually remain, and then they make their journey across to the swamp where they're going to get water through Maasai land and very close to the school. See, the school is just right there. So I was between the elephant and the school, like the Maasai, who it's their job to keep the animals from coming near the community. Oh, look at the big stalk there.
Just like I said, you know, he's about 94 years old. He's like the grandfather. He was old, and I just come right on to them because you know, I mean, when you see this beautiful community, and they're all so interrelated and interconnected, and they have so much admiration, respect for the elders, and you know, the whole patriarchal kind of system there that has a beauty to it in its natural simplicity in a lot of respects, as it preserves some order in a community like that. But you know, I approached him right off, and you know, he doesn't speak English, but I translated, and they says, "Wow, you know, you've got quite a community here, and everyone, they're all your sons and daughters." And you know, I told him that my father had, you know, I didn't have a father, and he said, "Well, you be my son. You be my son." He says, "From now on, you're my son." So, you know, I just took it at face value. It doesn't have to be ceremonial.
That's
It's
sweet.
just thought and the gesture, the words.
And they wanted to give you land so that you could come back and have your own.
Oh well, yeah, they gave me Joseph's dad has, you know, a bunch of land, and we took pictures. He says, "See this here? It was a big, huge open space." And across this open space was another compound, and it was a beautiful compound, all completely fenced in, and stone walls and so on. And he says that's what somebody else had done that came from Europe, and they had built, you know, a section over there for their family, it had been somebody who was related to the Maasai.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, but I can do that here, you know. And he says, if you want to, when you come, and you want to build a family house here, you can build it. This will be the land. And then afterwards, when the chief introduced me to the man who got me the gemstones from Mount Kilimanjaro mines, he said he would give me 1,000 acres
Wow.
in Tanzania. Because by that time I was telling them, you know, that I have lots of possibilities if there was resources, that there are, you know, Bible schools that need to be established among the Maasai because they are a Christianized people, and yet there's a few of them who are, you know, continued in their education beyond the local churches. So the pastors would benefit greatly from, you know, continuing in further education with us. So they're open to having a, you know, a local missions school, Bible school, Bible training, all of that.
Do they have electricity in their village?
No, nope,
No electricity. What
Nope.
about plumbing?
nope, no plumbing whatsoever.
So, what is it like for the bathroom? Do they have like
But
a
you
outhouse
just
kind of
don't
thing?
look at me. I'm going to the bathroom. Excuse me. Will you please just turn your back?
Oh, really? So
Oh, really?
just out in the open?
Everything's open. They're in the.
Okay. And so when they go out, like online and stuff, like how do they access a phone and get on the internet and be able to talk?
Most of them don't have that ability. I mean, few of the young people, like Joseph, you know, and they all would love to have that, and they would prize it
And they had
over everything. I mean, they would
yeah.
sacrifice their food to be able to buy a phone. But I mean, somehow they are able to acquire them, and I don't know the prices over there. I'm
Yeah.
sure they make them accessible for.
Yeah.
But they're still poor people. But you know, they would rather have a phone, like, you know,
Yeah.
most people. It
And
connects
they-
them to the world. It's their world of opportunity.
Yeah. But like how do they charge it? Do like they all walk to that resort that's nearby?
Yeah. They have to. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, no, the school that I was talking about that's falling down, that has some power to it. I don't know where that power comes from. I think they have a generator.
The power of God.
I guess the school has electricity, but it doesn't have a generator. Maybe that's where the telephone pole comes in, because the school is off, you know, off the edge of the village, like at the beginning of the village. So maybe the village doesn't have telephone poles or anything. I don't remember. I don't know. There's no telephone poles. I don't remember seeing a single telephone pole up there. I don't know how they get. I forget. We had power. We had power in the school.
And when you
But you know, most of them, they could go.
Yeah.
I had to go to get Wi-Fi
yeah,
over at the safari at the lodge,
so you'd walk.
which is
over.
about a mile and a half.
That's not too bad.
No.
So you'd walk a mile and a half,
Five-star
and
lodge.
you'd be able to reach out.
Oh, I could go. I would go. I'm the white guy. That's the sad part of it. I mean, you know, they let me use the pool every day. You know, but the Maasai guys, they could never ever let go of the pool.
Yeah, I couldn't picture that.
Yeah, but it's kind of a, you know, I
Yeah.
guess they wouldn't say that it was because you were black or not, you know. I think they're just because you're not a paying guest.
Yeah, just like we would feel it as a local here, just walking in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah.
But that's the only way I survive. You can see pictures. I've got beautiful pictures of me lolling around in this beautiful 5-star resort pool.
I remember.
Yeah, it looks like I'm the richest guy, and then I go home and sleep in the dung hut. Sally today, and the zebra are on the move. We're trying to get back, and they're leading the way. We wish we could hop on one. We need to ride back. Still a ways to the village, but they won't come. Every time we get closer, they keep moving away.
Joseph, right? Hey, Joseph. And James.
Yes, Frederick.
And Frederick. That's right, Frederick. We had Bible study this morning.
Yes.
It was awesome. Reading the Word of God. Yes. And now we're trying to catch zebra. Let's sneak up on him. Come on, zebras. Come on, zebras. Come here. I'm going to slip in the mud. That's what I'm going to do. Wow, they're beautiful.
Ah, it's raining.
It's raining. All right. No more videotaping. Distribution, but the cows are coming home for the day. So we got a little company. Use a brick.
Use the brick.
Yeah.
Yes.
Again?
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Michael. For your gift. God bless you. God bless you. Haya, tupigie makofi.